Hi everyone, welcome to Meeple Bits. I'm Ryan Novak. Today, we're going to play Virus. You're a virus that has just infected the human body. Now you have to spread out and mutate your virus in order to infect other organs to gain viral points. But watch out, the other viruses controlled by other players and the powerful immune system are trying to get in your way and stop you from being the ultimate viral plague. Designed by Gil DeRay and Antonio Susalara, published by Arcane Wonders for 2 to 5 players with a playtime of about 60 to 90 minutes. Follow me as we play Viral, coming up in just a moment. Welcome to Viral. As you can see, there's a lot of components going on in this game. So let's go ahead and take a moment and review what the setup of the game looks like. I've set up a game here for 3 players. All players should receive a player board of the color of their choosing, the viruses that correspond with their color, a starting deck of both diseases, which are your attack and defense cards, and a deck of zone cards, which represent the different zones on the board. You're going to place the markers here, here, and all the way up there, which is a little off camera, but it's for the score track. So let me talk about the different areas of the board. In the upper right-hand corner, this is your victory point track that'll go all the way around. There's icons representing different points, 4, 8, 12, 16, and so on. I'll review those in just a moment. There's a first player token, which you'll give randomly to the first player. And then you're going to also deal out these scoring tokens, which will handle a couple of things throughout the game. You can set them up in any random order, or you can follow the guide and set it up as I've done here, which is 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, and 3. The board itself is set up into, it looks like 6 different zones. Zone 1, the brain. Zone 2, the heart. Zone 3, the lungs. Zone 4, the pancreas and liver. Zone 5, the intestine, stomach, and large intestine, and Zone 6, the kidneys. The game is played over a 6x6 rounds, so everyone will get 6 turns, and in each round, there are 6 phases in each round. So that's the initial setup. Once you've dealt out the player boards, the player cards, you're going to take the rest of the attack cards, or the viruses, place them face down next to the board. For demonstration purposes, I've got them set on the board. And then you're going to put 3 face up. These are going to be selected to choose in just a moment. Then you're going to take 6 cards at random, which are these event cards. You're going to choose and then take the rest and put it into the box. So these event cards, they're going to come up on phase 3 of each round, and different things are going to happen. So let's take a quick review of one of them that isn't going to come up. Number 2, remove all viruses in the large intestine. Each virus removed scores 1 victory point. So not a bad thing, but you'll lose your viruses on the way out. So that's one of the types of events that'll come up. So let's go ahead and take a moment to review the different rounds as we're going through the game. In round 1 of the game, as indicated all the way up here on the board, the game is played in round 1 as 2x2. So players are going to take their hand. It acts as sort of a deck builder. They're going to play to the left of their board, indicated here by the number 1, both a zone and an ability. So looking at these cards, let me go ahead and take a quick look and see what I might want to do. We'll plan that for just a moment, but let me address the rest of the zones. Once all players have played their hands both 1 and 2 times, then you'll move down the round track into step 2 of round, which is the find a cure round, or the research round as it's indicated. Wherever you have placed your tokens as indicated by your initial play, which I'll address in just a moment, then you're going to move up or down the track as indicated by these markers. So example, the person that might control the pancreas and liver would get 2 victory points, and then there would get a +1 research against them. So they would have to then move up this research track, getting closer to a cure for their individual virus. As I mentioned, the game is a bit of deck building and a bit of zone control. So what you're doing is you're trying to fight for control of the different areas while going through the rounds. In round 1, you're fighting for control. In stage 2, you're then finding cures. Stage 3 of the round is the event. So you're going to play this top card when you reach this, which is sneeze, and you're going to see what the event is before it happens. So you're going to be able to plan a little bit ahead. So in this one, it's for each controlled zone, award 1 victory point. So you're going to want to try to control zones in this first round. Number 4. So step 4 is resolving crisis. Here is the crisis track. And as indicated in a 2 and 3 player game, whenever there are more than 3 viruses in a given organ, not zone, then you add a crisis token, starting with 1, 2, 3, and 4. In a 4-player game, it would require 4, 5, it would require 5. So example, if there are 3 people in the lung 1, then you would have a crisis token on that zone. And so once we reach here into step 4 of the round, we would resolve that. And what would happen is we would begin to then resolve the crisis, which is we're going to kill the viruses in that area, but they would also get 2 victory points, and then everyone else would get 1 victory point. Which moves us into step 5, which is finding cures. So once we reach this end area of the track, we'll see if anyone has their token all the way up on the cure markers, and then they would then have found a cure for that particular virus. What would happen then is the player would then remove all of their tokens from the board, and then they would have to start anew. Stepping back for just a moment, you'll notice that each of these chits of your viruses are 2-sided. So throughout the game, which I'll cover as we go through the rounds and when I address the cards, you'll be able to actually empower or defend your individual viruses so that they become a little bit stronger, so that they can be immune to the different cures that might happen throughout the game. And then stepping into phase 6. This is also your tiebreaker. So if ever there's a tiebreaker, example, when resolving a crisis, you're going to look at the tiebreaker, starting from top to bottom. This is also the how the players are going to determine who goes first next round. So starting with the bottom person, they will go first, green, and then gray. But in the case of a tiebreaker, gray being on top would be the winner of a tie. And then if you've already played through all 6 rounds, you're going to resolve the end game scoring here, which we'll address in just a moment. So that's the 6 phases of each round. The game ends after 6 rounds are complete. So once you've gone through all 6 phases, you're then going to move the marker down to indicate that you are now on round 2 of 6, so on and so forth. So once you've reached 6, then that'll end the game. So just a quick recap. Stage 1 of each round, you're going to play your hand, 2 cards, play them and resolve them, play 2 more cards, play them and resolve them, and then what you're going to do is you're going to pull up any cards as indicated by this timer. You're going to pull them up off the board and then put those new cards that were played in timeout, so to speak. In phase 2, you're going to resolve any of the plus or minuses as indicated on the different zones. Phase 3, you're going to handle the event. Phase 4, you're going to handle the crisis. Phase 5, you're going to see if there's a cure found for anyone. And Phase 6, you're going to reshuffle the order depending on who is ahead in the victory track. This means that anyone that's been absorbed will break free. So at the end of each round, if you've absorbed any other viruses, I'll go over absorb in just a moment, you're going to be able to break free. So that's the setup of the game, a little bit complex. So let me take a moment to address the different attack cards that are available. So as I mentioned, we've got the different zones on our cards, 1 through 6, and then we've all got our starting hand of attack cards. So everyone's got the same exact starter hand, but will be able to get more cards throughout the game so that they can kind of change their different combinations. Cards highlighted in blue up here must be played when paired with the different zone. The other ones in white can be played on any of your viruses throughout the game, not necessarily in that zone. Cards can be taken, or actions can be taken in any order you choose, and you don't have to do any actions at all. If it's indicated by a slash, that means it's an or, not an and. So in this one, you can either attack or do an action. So now that we've learned about the 6 phases of each round, let's take a quick peek at the different things that can happen when playing your cards. Let's see if I can get this to focus right. There we go. On your cards, if you see the first icon, the lightning bolt, that's an infect. You're going to place a virus on from your board, and the virus must be placed with the front side up, no shield. Crisis, the skull. Place the lowest numbered crisis token available on any organ. So you get to kind of choose where a crisis would happen. Attack. Remove one virus that belongs to another player from an organ. You must have at least one virus in that organ. Magnet. In an organ where you have at least one virus, you may pull a virus from the adjacent organ into your organ, or push a virus from your own to an adjacent organ. Absorb. Choose one of the viruses in an organ, place all other viruses in that organ under your virus, and in step 6, as I indicated, you would release those. Shield. That's where you're going to flip one of your viruses, as I showed earlier, and then the little squiggly arrow, move. You're going to be able to go through the different paths. Now, how movements work, if you see the arrows, you can only flow through the vessels as indicated by the blood streams. So you can go from the brain down into the heart 1, but you cannot go from heart 1 into the brain. But from heart 1, you can go down into either lung 1 or lung 2, so on and so forth. Okay guys, so let's go ahead and step right in. We're going to do, for demonstration, one round of the game, just so you can kind of see how the 6 phases of the round happen. So, starting with phase 1, I'm going to go through here and determine which combination of cards I want to play first. Looking at this, I'm only going to be able to get one on the board, so this one I'm going to save until next time. Let's go ahead and do 2 infects so that I can place a virus from my board into, let's go in zone 5. So we're going to take these combination of cards, setting them face down to the left, and then every other player is going to do the same thing. So I'm just going to randomly pull out 2 cards and see what their play might have been for demonstration purposes. Okay, this one and this one. Okay, let's see what we got here. So starting with player 1, as indicated on this track, we're going to go gray, green, and orange. So gray's going to flip his cards and then take his actions first. So he's going to infect the stomach, small intestine, or large intestine. So I'm going to go ahead and place 1 card into the stomach. I'm going to place 1 token into the small intestine, and those are my 2 actions. So flipping these, putting them off to the side. Let's see what green randomly got. Okay, so they've got lung 1 and lung 2. In action 1, attacking wouldn't really help them much, so they definitely want to do the infect. So they're going to go ahead and throw an infect into lung 1. And then they also can move or shield. So I think I'm going to go ahead and use the shield action and reinforce him. Okay, setting that off to the side. And then let's see what orange randomly picked up. Kidneys and the same one. Okay, so going into the kidneys, where'd you go? There we go. So we got 1 infect, and then we've got a shield, so let's go ahead and enforce him as well. There we go. And then phase 1, we do it again. So starting with gray's turn, I'm going to see what I want to do. So now looking at the board, now again, you're going to score points, as I indicated earlier, whenever you control an entire zone. So you have to be able to get your viruses in each of them. So by me attacking here first, it was pretty risky because I need to also get inside of here. But there's only 1 zone 5 card for me to use. So I might have stretched myself a little too thin. But if I can now get myself maybe from an organ in there, let's see, how can I play this one? I know what I'll do. I'll play the heart. There we go. And let's play an infect and a 2 move. That should be a good one for us. Okay. Gray or green, they're just going to pull out 2 randoms again, see what their turn got. And then same thing with orange. Random, random. Okay. So, starting with me, we're going to flip over. And in the heart zone 1 or 2, I get to first infect. It has to happen in the heart. But you'll see that I want to do a couple of move actions that'll hopefully help me through. So, this may not have worked out very well in my favor, but let's try it anyway. So, I'm going to go into the heart. Then I'm going to do a move action, sliding him from the heart down into the small intestine. And then with my second move action, I'm going to move from here into the large intestine. As indicated here, I can go back and forth between these two. So that actually worked out for me because I now control this zone 5. It's not worth a whole lot of victory points as it was randomly given a pretty low scoring, but it's a large zone to be able to hold. Let's see what green pulled. They got the brain with an infect and 2 move. So if they want to infect, they have to infect the brain. Brain, unlike the other zones, there's only one of them. So in order to control it, you actually have to have 2 viruses in the brain instead of just 1. So green is going to infect the brain, as indicated here, because they must use the infect action there, but then they get 2 moves. So looking at the heart, they can actually, oh wait, no, they're green and I threw up a gray. Let me go ahead and fix that. User error, there we go. So that actually works out pretty okay for them because now using their 2 move actions, what they're going to do is they're going to move up the heart, out of the lungs into the heart, and then from the heart into the brain, thereby taking that zone. So that worked out pretty well for them. And let's see what orange randomly pulled also. Okay, now we've got some fight going on here. So they get to do 1 infect into the stomach, small intestine, or large intestine. And this is really going to work out for them because they're going to essentially force a tie in one of these areas. So I won't be able to score it entirely. So I'm going to go ahead and put it here. And then I get 2 defend actions. As you see it, this one's already defended, reinforced. So I'll only really be able to do it to this one. Setting it off to the side. And then, as indicated in phase 1, we're going to go ahead and scoop up our cards, put the ones that we drew into timeout. Now our hand just got a little bit smaller for next time. So we won't be able to use what we just did, which is, for me, in being gray player, I won't be able to use the large intestine or the, what was the other one that I used? Oh God, I already forgot the heart. Because I moved myself. So I won't be able to use those zones 3 or 5 next turn. Okay, so that's phase 1. Let's go ahead and move our marker down into phase 2, assuming everyone put their cards over into timeout. Sorry, I moved the marker down. That's actually your round marker. So we're actually just going to visualize that we're now in phase 2 of round 1. Okay, so in phase 2, we're going to go ahead and now score each of the zones. First, we have to determine which player controls a zone and then award victory points. To control a zone, a player must have at least 1 virus in every organ in that zone. If more than 1 player has a virus in every organ, the player with the most total viruses in that zone controls it. If they're tied, we're going to look at the tiebreaker section. So starting with zone 1, I see here that, well, green's the only one that has that zone. So they're going to go ahead and move up the victory point track 1 point. There we go. Now they would go down in research if they were up this track at all, but they're not, so they're going to stay at 0. So they're still safe from discovery. Zone 2, no one's in the heart. Zone 3, no one's in the lung. Zone 4 over here, no one's in the pancreas. Now let's go ahead and score zone 5. Looking around zone 5, it looks like gray player does control it, And even though this one is slightly contested, they still have the majority. So gray is going to move up 1 victory point. And down here in zone 6, orange didn't manage to get a guy into that zone, into both kidneys, so he doesn't score any points. Now, if our research token is at the top of the research track, we can't go any higher, and nor can we go any lower. So that's all we're going to do for that round. Moving then into phase 3, we're going to resolve this action card. For each controlled zone, award 1 victory point. So that benefits both gray and green because they're the only ones that control a zone. So we're going to go ahead and move them up 1 point apiece. Stepping then into number 4, we didn't have any crisis that happened because there was never 3 viruses in any one organ at a time. So we didn't have any crisis come out, so there's no crisis to resolve this round. Moving into phase 5, we're going to go ahead and check to see if anyone had discovered a cure. So let's say, for example, green managed to be all the way up on their track. They would have to wipe all of their tokens off the board, except those that are defended, like this one. So when you go to wipe them off, you would actually just flip this one over. The same thing happens in the case of a player using an attack card, like something like this. If a player uses the attack on a reinforced virus, they would just flip it over. And then moving into number 6, we're going to look at the track up there to see who then becomes first player. So orange is trailing the victory points, so they become first player. And then you'll see that gray and green were tied, so their order would remain the same as it was. So we would step into then round 2. But as I glance over the board, I see that I, again, made a slight user error. So there's a little bit of iconography on here that says that I would get 1 victory point plus 1 victory point. So gray actually gets to score themselves 1 additional point for having the large zone. So now, if we look at this track, green would in fact move ahead of gray for the next round. So orange would become first player. We'll toss them the marker. Green would go second, and then gray third. And then you would rinse and repeat. Starting with phase 1, you're going to choose 2 cards, resolve them, choose 2 more cards, and resolve them. And then in that phase, you're actually going to take these cards that were once in timeout and put them back into your hand, and then the other 4 cards that were used would then go into timeout. Over on the right side of the track, once I were to, say, hit 4 victory points, I would immediately be able to choose another card. So let's say I managed to get an extra victory point that turn. I would be able to either, 1, choose the known, or select from the unknown. So looking at that, I may have taken just this attack card, which is also worth 2 victory points at the end of the game. And then all the way down here, as indicated by this icon, once a player reaches that point, they're going to go and actually trigger the event where all of these markers get flipped from their white side over to their blue side. So they become a little bit more valuable as you make a mad dash for the end of the game. Well, guys, that's Viral. Thanks for hanging out. Stay tuned for just a moment while I clean the board and then give you my afterthoughts. Okay, guys, thanks for hanging out for a playthrough of Viral. So, sorry about a lot of the mix-ups while going through the game, but as you see, there's a lot happening. But once you get through 1 or 2 turns, then it really becomes fluid and makes a lot of sense. So I guess my afterthoughts. I really enjoy Viral, 1, because of the artwork. It's really fun and playful, and that's what kind of drew me into the game to begin with. From there, the components are pretty solid quality. The chits are really thick and sturdy. The player boards are full cardboard, which I really enjoy. The cards, nice linen finish. So really the components of the game are really good. The other thing that I really enjoy about Viral is that it's heavily in the strategic side. So there's a lot of strategy involved, both with trying to decide what your players are probably going to do, but then what's going to do, you the best. So there's a lot of options when it comes to the cards, but keep in mind that everyone's got that initial starting hand, and you're only going to acquire 4 cards additionally throughout the game. So there's a lot of moving parts happening, and as you're constantly rotating your cards, you have to plan ahead. So you got to be able to sort of plan 2 or 3 moves in advance to say, okay, I'm about to use this lung organ, and it's going to get put in a timeout for next round, so I'm not going to have it back in my hand until round 3. So using that, it's really going to be key, because you want to also look around the table and determine, what card did they use, so I know that they won't be able to go into that zone next round. So it really adds a nice element of depth and strategy. I guess if I could have a complaint about Viral, not too many to say the least, but it's pretty complex, and the iconography, I guess, could make a little more sense, and I'm a huge fan of iconography when it comes to a game that's as involved as Viral is. But guys, if you enjoyed the artwork and if you like a sort of deck builder slash area control, Viral's definitely a game to add into your collection. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you have any comments or questions, please leave them down in the comment section. I'm happy to help a little bit further. Until next time, thanks for watching.